Hi everyone, and welcome to the AdEspresso March webinar. Today, as you can probably see there, we're going to be covering what to do when your Facebook ads aren't working, either when your account gets rejected or the ads are just not serving properly or underperforming. It's something that we've get a ton of questions, both in our private Facebook group and also by email and in our support tickets. So something we're going to cover some practical tips for you today. But just before we dive into this topic, a little bit of housekeeping as traditional on our webinars. The most common question we get is, are we recording? Yes, we are. So we try and send that out within 24 hours by email. If for any reason you don't receive it, just go to adespresso.com/webinars and you can watch the replay there within 24 hours. You can also go to our YouTube channel, which is just search for AdEspresso on YouTube. And again, we'll upload the recording there within 24 hours. So don't worry about taking too many notes. If you want to review this session, you will get a recording afterwards there. And then the aim of this live webinar is we want it to be interactive. So you'll see within your GoToWebinar panel, there will be a chat section there where you can ask questions. Please ask away during this presentation. My colleague Tori will be monitoring chat. We'll try and answer some questions depending on time as we go along, but we'll certainly leave some time for questions at the end there. And then the final bit before we get on today's training, a little bit about myself, so you know my credibility for delivering today's training. I'm Paul, I'm the Head of Education here at AdEspresso. My email address is paul@adespresso.com. So if you've got any questions that I don't resolve in this webinar, then you can always email me afterwards. I try and reply to as many emails as possible there. My background, I've been working for AdEspresso for 5 years now. It used to be a social media manager before that. So I've been on Facebook for a long, long time. I'm privileged enough to have audited campaigns from over 1,000 ad accounts from all over the world, different account sizes, different industries. I've personally managed about $10 million of Facebook ad spend for clients. And I like doing lots of coaching. So I do one-to-one coaching calls, everything from small, medium businesses with small ad spend, right up to those with $10 billion in revenue and everything in between there. We do a monthly webinar. My webinars that I've done myself, I've got over 50,000 views there. So hopefully I've been able to help a lot of businesses. Also, if you'd like to put in the chat there where you're joining us from today, you can see Oddvar's joining us from Norway, Frank from Costa Rica, Tracy from Indianapolis, Savannah from Southern California, Nicole and Kate from the UK, which is where I'm based. You can probably tell from my accent there. Taylor from Wilmington, Fatima from Pakistan, Michael from Cape Town, Honolulu. We got Denver, Las Vegas, Spain, Poland. So we've got a worldwide audience, and thank you for tuning in today. So let's dive into today's topics. It's going to be a webinar of two halves. The first half of the webinar is about what happens if your account gets banned. So we're looking at how to prevent a ban in the first place, then what happens if you do get an account rejection. Then the second half of the webinar is going to be switching gears and looking at your campaigns. What to do if your campaign just isn't spending its budget properly. This is a real common question. We get so many support tickets about this. And then if your campaign is spending, but it's just underperforming, it's just not getting results for you, it's falling a bit flat, we'll look at some ways of analyzing your campaigns and then how you can improve them there. So we really want to make sure that your campaigns get back on track. And let's dive into the first section here. So we're going to be covering 8 tips on how to prevent your account getting banned in the first place. And I will say up front, with account bans from Facebook, prevention is definitely better than a cure. So although it's not the most interesting subject, you really want to just spend that little amount of time getting your account in a really good position so it doesn't get banned, because it's a lot easier than the second section. You'll see what to do when your account does get banned. So a bit of context here. A little while ago, one morning, got out of bed, obviously working remotely during the pandemic, opened up my laptop, brewed some coffee, logged onto Facebook, go into Ads Manager, and this big pop-up appears with this big red icon. It's something we all dread, where Facebook's saying your account is disabled. That's it. You cannot run any ads through this account. Everything's been disabled. Now, whether you work for an agency or you're working directly for the brand, this is going to be a big problem. Lots of businesses are relying on Facebook ads as a primary driver of sales, and it's a disaster if you can't go and run any ads there. So 8 tips to go and prevent this from happening in the first place here, so you get an easy life. Tip number 1 is all your employees should be using their genuine personal Facebook profiles to log into Business Manager. So I see a big problem, especially at enterprise level, when you get these bigger brands. What they do is they create separate fake personal profiles for their employees. Now, Facebook doesn't like this. First of all, you should only have one personal profile. Also, it just raises some alarm bells at Facebook. It's like, hey, there's this profile here. They probably don't have a profile picture. They don't have a cover photo. They're not posting anything. They're just logging on to Ads Manager. That's all they're doing. This looks suspicious. And what we're always trying to do with Facebook is just, to try and make ourselves look as legitimate as possible. So we don't want to be raising those alarm bells, because there might not be one thing that causes an account rejection. It's everything together, which is why I cover these 8 tips. Another reason why we need to use our genuine personal profiles is what will happen sometimes if an account gets banned is Facebook will go, right, prove who you are. We need to go through some identity checks. And what they basically do is you've got to upload an ID card. I've uploaded my passport before. Sometimes if you've got photo, driver's license, it can be that. So they will do that verification to get your account back on track. Now, if you're using some fake name or you haven't got any photos of yourself on the profile, it's going to be hard to prove your identity. So this is another reason why we do step 1, go and use a genuine personal profile. Then move on to step 2, use Business Manager. Don't use a personal ad account, use Business Manager there. And this kind of relates to the first point as well. If you're using Business Manager, that separates business from personal. So that's another reason why you can be using your personal legitimate profile, because it doesn't matter, because you're not logging into your personal ad account there. This is a whole webinar in itself. We ran this a couple of months ago. Again, just go to adespresso.com/webinars if you want to go and get a guide on how to set up Business Manager there. Third tip to stop any rejections there is we want to go and check the action items in Security Center. So what you will see within your Facebook account, if you're going to business.facebook.com, is that you'll have this business settings, and you'll see that little red arrow there is that you get 9 dots essentially. Anytime you're in Business Manager, in the top left-hand corner, if you click on that, you can expand out this menu, and then you can get to business settings. So you click on the business settings, and then once you're in there, you're going to see another left-hand menu there, and you're going to see Security Center. So you just go to that left-hand menu in settings, click on Security Center, and you're going to see this here, 3 items there. And really what we're looking for is to get a green tick or a green shield next to all 3 items. So what you're looking for is something that looks like this. Now, the 3 steps here. First of all, 2-factor authentication. I don't have figures on this, but I would say that a vast majority of accounts that get hacked because somebody just goes and guesses their password or uses brute force to get into their account that way. If you've got 2-factor authentication for yourself and all of your employees in Business Manager, it's going to vastly cut down the number of account hacks. So that just proves to Facebook that if somebody's logging into your Business Manager, it's likely to be legit. So Facebook isn't going to flag up that ad account. That's another box checked. That little tick that says to Facebook, this is genuine user behavior there. Plus, we don't want to get our accounts hacked anyway, so turn on 2FA there. Second thing is a backup admin. If you get a problem with a personal profile and Facebook locks you out, then you need to get back in another way, and that's where having a backup admin is very useful. For small businesses, by the way, this doesn't need to be somebody actively involved in the business day to day, just somebody that you trust so they can jump in and give you access again. So sometimes it could be just a relative, just a partner that works, well, that's got access to the business that you trust implicitly there. And then third step you'll see at the bottom is business verification. If you can verify your business with Facebook, that's going to help you there. Again, just get another check mark that proves that you are a legitimate business. You're not spamming Facebook with fraudulent ads there. Then following on from this, we can move up from Security Center in your Business Manager settings. And what we can do is go to Domains there. So you'll see Brand Safety on the left-hand menu, click on Domains, and then you can put in your domain and verify that. Again, it's just another check mark with Facebook. They can say, right, you're running ads to this domain. We know you can control this domain because you verified it. The way you verify is you basically put a little snippet of code on your website. Facebook just scans your website and goes, yes, you've put the code on there that we gave to you, so we know that you are a legit advertiser. So again, that just builds up that trust with Facebook there. Then step number 5 is we can do an audit on our Business Manager. And again, I cover this a lot more in the Business Manager webinar. Those webinars are all free, so watch that sometime if you can. But what you want to do is just go into your people and your partners settings there and just check that there's nobody getting access that shouldn't be. I see this a lot when I take on new accounts or just audit them, is that people have got old agencies, old employees, a business partner that left the business a couple of years ago. So what we need to be doing there is just going in there and removing anybody that shouldn't have access. Sometimes as well, you might have old pages and ad accounts that you access. I actually had a problem with my Business Manager. I got a rejection from Facebook. And what I've traced it down to was that I had audited an ad account. I'd left that ad account connected to my Business Manager. Facebook didn't like that ad account, so it blocked my Business Manager. So we can see if we can go and just remove any stuff proactively before you get a rejection, that's really going to help you there. Then number 6, no Facebook ads policies. Not the most exciting document, but if you go to facebook.com/policies/ads, or you just Google it, it should take you there. Look through the ad policies. Some of them are quite obscure, a little bit quirky, unique to Facebook. So there's lots of things there that will catch you out. Like you can just see on this screen here, Facebook has got a thing about personal attributions. There's certain things you can't say about your audience there, which wouldn't apply to traditional offline advertising. So take the time, try and keep down the number of ad rejections that you get there, and that's really going to help you. You know, here's an example. There's dozens of ad policies, but they will give you some examples of what you can use and what you can't use. So from Facebook's point of view, there's no excuses to say, right, I didn't know about these policies. They've put them all out there, saying it's quite a big text to wade through, but definitely worth at least skimming the relevant sections. Like they've got sections on credit ads or dating ads or anything like that. So get familiar with those there. And following on from this, there are some special ad categories. Things like social ads, political ads, credit ads, employment, and housing ads. There's even stricter rules on those beyond Facebook's general ad policies. So if you fall into those categories, know about those, and you also need to mark your ads as a special ad category up front. If you keep down the rejections, then Facebook's going to be happy, less chance of getting your account blocked or banned there. Then something else, again, to be proactive is if you go to these 9 dots, that little square grid in Business Manager, and then from that pop-up menu, go to Account Quality, and you can just monitor what's happening there with your account. It will tell you, you can see here on the left-hand menu, whether there's any account issues, what your account status overview is, your Facebook account, and look at the number of rejections, look at if your catalogs are getting any items in them banned, that sort of thing here. So you just want to make sure that these aren't building up. It's probably impossible, well, nearly impossible anyway, to not get any ad rejections at all on Facebook, but just try and keep the number low. If you are finding that you're getting loads of rejections, then maybe you need to go a little bit, play a bit safe with your ads. Don't try and just like push the limits too much, because otherwise Facebook could look at your account as a whole and decide to cause a rejection there. And last but not least in this section, tip number 8 is to warm up your ad account. So again, if you go to that 9 dots, you can see that pop-up menu. There is an ad account limit for your page. Most pages, unless you're spending a lot here, will have 250 active number of ads per page. Some large accounts get 1,000+ ads, mostly 250. So what we don't want to do is go like a bull in a china shop and have this new ad account, no history, and start just putting out dozens and dozens of ads straight away. And you know, maybe you haven't tested the ad creatives, they get dozens and dozens of rejections straight away. That's going to flag up to Facebook that, hey, this looks suspicious. Build up that account history. You don't need to be too conservative, but just put through some test ads out there first of all. Build up some credit history. Let Facebook see that you're not getting ad rejections, and then just build it up from there. And you're just going to fly under the radar with Facebook, which is what it's all about there. So I hope you find those 8 tips there useful, saying definitely prevention is better than a cure. Take some time. You can watch this replay if you like. Just look at those 8 key points, try and action those at least once to make sure that your account is going to be in very good standing with Facebook. Another take-home message is I don't think there's just one thing that will call a ban. It's that kind of all that evidence Facebook looks together. They've probably got some kind of scoring system. If you go over too many black marks, then Facebook decides to ban your account there. So we're going to flip it around now in section 2, and we're going to look at what to do if your ad account does happen to get banned. And first thing I'd say to preface this is don't beat yourself up about this. It can happen to any account. As you'll see here, it's actually happened to myself. And I work for a Facebook marketing partner. I've been to Facebook conferences. I've actually run some webinars for Facebook. So it can happen to any legitimate ethical advertiser on Facebook at times. Facebook has got about 10 million advertisers on Facebook. It wants to really protect the user experience, so it always uses an abundance of caution. If Facebook isn't sure whether this account should be running or not, it would rather go and block it and then review it afterwards, rather than having any risk of spammy or fraudulent ads in the newsfeed. So it is really looking after users there. So that's the first thing. If it happens to you, don't panic, don't worry, don't beat yourself up. This can happen to anybody. But it does lead on to a very good point. This is just for agencies, not for brands. But if you're an agency, in Business Manager, I really recommend that you let your brands that you run ads for own their own assets. So they should own their own ad account, Facebook page, pixel audiences, and so on. And then they give you access as a partner. The reason for this is, as we saw, ad accounts do get banned. If you're an agency and you own that ad account on behalf of the brand, then the brand isn't going to be very happy if their assets go down. If they own the assets and you're just having access to them, then okay, they're still not going to be that happy, but they can't really apportion that blame to you. So I think it's really good to reduce the risk as an agency that your brands should always own their own assets there. Another thing as well from an agency is occasionally business managers themselves get banned. Now, if you're an agency and say you've got 10 clients and you own those 10 ad accounts, that's it. Your agency is out of business. Not a very good position to be in. Whereas if your brands each own their own advertising assets, then what you can do is you could then arrange for them to go and share their assets into another business manager. You can get back on track there. So yeah, don't beat yourself up about it. Second tip here is don't rush to submit an appeal. This is a chat I had with Facebook, and it's basically saying that you've appealed once, that's it, it's under review. Thank you for contacting us, have a lovely day, and they terminated the chat. So you only get one chance to submit an appeal. So the common thing to do is you see that ban icon, you blast that quick message to Facebook, appeal, and then you kind of regret it at your leisure there, because that's it, you haven't got another chance to do anything about it. So take your time on this, calm down, and follow the next steps. So the steps that we do, we audit our account. We go into that account quality, like I say, use your 9 dots in Business Manager to find the account quality section under the menu, and go to account issues. What issues are they finding? Have they got a problem with your ad accounts, your catalogs, anything like that? Are loads of ads getting rejected? So go in there and try and solve any of those issues. Leading on from this, I covered this as well in the prevention section, but audit your account. So you might find that you have got some problems there with a ad account that Facebook doesn't like. If it's owned by a partner, can you remove that partner, that sort of thing there. So that's what we want to be doing, is taking that time and finding out what caused that rejection from Facebook. Then what we need to do before we submit our appeal is we need to contact Facebook support. Now, this is hard for me to give you any advice on, simply because there's a number of different UIs for this. It can depend on country, what support options are available, also on time of day. Also, I've been logged into the same ad account in 2 separate browsers at the same time and seen 2 completely different user interfaces. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. So all I can suggest is go to facebook.com/business/help, or again, you can just Google Facebook business support, see what's there. Sometimes you've got to click through 2 or 3 options and you find like a live chat option or some contact option. So contact Facebook. They won't be able to specifically say this is the cause, because the account rejection team works in a silo in Facebook. They work completely separate from the customer service team. But what the customer service team can do is they can review your account and say, hey, we found this ad account owned by a partner. We think this could be a cause. You might want to be looking at removing it. So they're not going to guarantee that will help, but they can be extremely useful. Work with that team. They're really good, knowledgeable team there. So again, this is why we want to take our time. Don't fill in that appeal until we've contacted support and audited everything in account quality and business manager. Then the final step is to go and submit your appeal. 3 really basic points here. We keep it short. The account approval team are busy. If you start writing an essay, they're not going to read it all. You need to just stick to those key points there. What do you want to get across? Is that, yes, I was connected to this ad account. I shouldn't have been. I've removed it. It won't happen again. Sorry, that sort of thing. And be polite. You know, you are dealing with humans here. Your ad account is in their hands. If you're abusive, I don't know if it will affect their policies, but it's certainly not going to help you. I always found with Facebook reps, if you're polite, if you just keep it short, stick to those key points, they're extremely helpful, extremely knowledgeable teams there. Cool. Just going to have a look in chat here. Going to open it up to my colleague Tori, just see if there's any questions that have come in or any key points that's worth covering so far before we start moving on to the second half of this webinar.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, a couple of questions here. Vanessa asked if I have 2 businesses with a separate domain. Given everything you said, should I just run it through one ad account or should I have 2 separate ad accounts for those businesses?
Okay, so if you've got 2 separate domains, so the domain is verified at Business Manager. So what I tend to do then, I've got like this with one of my clients, is they've got 3 ad accounts, 1 Facebook page, and 3 domains verified because they've got 3 different websites, 1 for each region there. So just go and set all that up in Business Manager there. You'll be fine. You can verify more than 1 domain, absolutely fine there.
Great. Another comment here from Simon. Don't forget to mention that sometimes Facebook makes mistakes and bans people in error, while where this typically happens to many people at the same time. So checking through the AdEspresso message board and Twitter to see if it happened around the same time.
Yep, that's a really good point. And there is actually a status panel for Facebook Ads Manager. I think it's something like status.fb.com. Again, it's something that you might want to Google and find it, but it's a really good point there, Simon. If you go and find the status manager, if there's been any issues where they've wrongly flagged up a whole batch of ad accounts, it will probably mention it there. So that's really good.
Oh, great. And last question from Kate here. Know there are keywords that trigger ad rejections. Where can I find a list of these keywords?
This is something that Facebook won't tell you because otherwise everybody would just try and circumvent the ad policies here. My advice on there is partly test. Sometimes use a separate test ad account for this. And again, in the early days, don't try too many ads at once or too many trigger words on there. Think about Facebook ad reviews as a bot. because the first round of reviews they do is a bot. Later on, they can do a second review by humans, but a vast majority of the reviews are going to be by bots. So they're going to look for common trigger words in there. But it will depend on context as well. It's quite a clever bot. It can look on context. It's not just about the word you use, it's the kind of context that's used in there. But yes, it's something that just comes with experience. And so the thing to do is really read the ad policies and then think, how can I comply with them? Rather than, hey, is there any ways that I can find an angle around them? Facebook will catch up with you. So yes, just try and just keep within the boundaries there. Excellent, thank you, Tori. And we're going to move on to the second half of this webinar now. And thank you for your questions, everyone. Keep them coming in, and we'll get to some more at the end. So section 3, we've covered account bans. We're now going to look at what to do if your campaign isn't spending its budget properly. We've seen this a lot. Again, we get lots of tickets on this where you've set up your campaign, you've run it for a couple of days, and it just either doesn't spend much, or the impressions are absolutely just trickling out there, an absolute fraction of what you're looking for. There's a really good checklist we got for this that you can just basically work through. And I would say from the accounts that we've reviewed, remember I've audited over 1,000 accounts now, that this probably solves a good 90–95% plus of the issues that you're having. So let's dive into some of these. Firstly, if your ad's not running, it might have been disapproved, it's rejected. As we covered in the other sections there, ad rejections are commonplace. So go into the ads level of Ads Manager, or in AdEspresso, you can go into the All Ads tab, and you should be able to see if an ad is rejected. If it is rejected, click on the edit section of the ad, and it'll pull up all the details. It will sometimes tell you why the ad isn't running, like this one says it's a work from home and a multi-level marketing or get rich quick scheme. So you think I'll trust to either amend your ad and make sure it's compliant, or you can, if you think it's a wrong rejection, click on the request review button, go and put a brief reason why you think they made a mistake, and then they'll go and review it for you with a human team. So that's the first thing to do. It's amazing, it's so simple, but sometimes ads aren't running just because they've been rejected, and it's not always clear when you're just in Ads Manager. You sometimes need to dive into the ads level. The second one that catches people out is that your account spending limit has been reached. Now, something really important to note here is that your spending limit is different to your billing limit on there. So what the spending limit is that's where you can actually put into the ad account settings like a threshold. You can say, right, I don't want Facebook to spend more than $100 on ads without either pressing the reset button. It's a good safety net. I mean, you know, some people on Facebook are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you don't want to necessarily rack up that type of bill. So you can put in this safety margin. You'll see it here. You can put in this spending limit. So why this catches people out is it's not always clear in Ads Manager that you've reached your spending cap. So just be aware that the spending cap is different from the billing threshold on Facebook. So maybe Facebook has said, we're going to bill your ads every $1,000, but you might put a spend cap in that says, I want my ads to stop after $100. So just check that there. Sounds simple, but again, so many times people get caught out with this, especially new advertisers that aren't used to the little quirks of the way that the Facebook settings work there. Then third reason, we're kind of getting to more of a tactical reason here, is that your bid is too low. Is that on Facebook, you can have lowest cost bidding. It used to be called automatic bidding, where you say to Facebook, okay, get me the best balance between results and the cost here. But what happens sometimes is that people like to put a cost cap or bid cap on their ads, and they just bid too low. So for example, maybe it costs Facebook $5 to get you a lead, and you put in a bid cap of say $3, and Facebook just can't find anybody at $3 per lead. And so your campaign just either shuts down or just really trickles the spending can be really low. So very quick fix here. If you've got a problem, just go back to that lowest cost bidding, and that should help you there. So be really, really careful with using cost caps or bid caps. They can cause a lot of problems. Then related to bidding, is that maybe your campaign just doesn't have enough budget there. Especially in premium countries like the US, Facebook ads are reasonably expensive. Facebook is going to need a reasonable amount of budget so it can win some of the auctions for you. Every ad you place goes into an auction with other advertisers. So you need to be able to just outbid them a little bit there. So give it enough budget. And also you need to be looking to not necessarily complete the learning phase, but at least assist Facebook's machine learning a bit. So machine learning on Facebook is where it's looking for 50 conversions. It should actually say per ad set here rather than per asset per week. So you want to make sure that you get some conversions coming in. By the way, this applies if you're optimizing for conversions, not if you're optimizing for like clicks or impressions. But yeah, sometimes Facebook struggles if it doesn't get many conversions coming in and you're optimizing for conversions. Facebook goes, well, I don't know what to look for. I can't see any themes, any patterns, and it shuts the campaign down. So make sure you've got enough budget so you can outbid people, get some conversions coming in. Little rough rule of thumb, if I don't really like to put set amounts here, but as an absolute minimum, spend at least $2 per ad per day or $5 per ad set per day there. That's an absolute minimum, but give Facebook a little bit to work with there. Then another reason why your campaign just might not be spending properly is maybe your optimization goal is too hard to reach. And this kind of relates to the previous point on the learning phase. For example, if we were showing this ad to people, to a cold traffic audience that don't know AdEspresso, and we're saying, hey, take out a free trial of AdEspresso, we might not get many trial signups because they just don't know what we do. I cover this in the previous month's webinar about how to create Facebook ads funnels there. So we need to warm people up. We need to engage with them first and create that awareness before we ask for some action and some conversions. So think about how you can build up a funnel so that you're going to get a sensible number of conversions for your ad sets. And we're aiming for 50 conversions per ad set per week if you're optimizing for conversions. Not always possible, but just more is better. 20 is better than 10, 10 is better than 0, and so on. Then a sixth reason here, so it's kind of like just a checklist they can go through, is that maybe your ads aren't relevant to that audience. You might have a very good quality ad, but imagine that you're advertising a dog subscription box like BarkBox, where your audience has actually got cats and they'd rather be having Meowbox. So just make sure that your ad is in alignment with the audience, and that's really going to help you get more results, and then your campaign's going to spend better. There are some things that Facebook can help you to analyze this. You can look at the quality score, the engagement score, and the conversion score. We're going to touch on this a bit later as well. But maybe if you see some things like really below average, like it says like bottom 10% or something, then maybe you're thinking, have I got the alignment right here? So it's not about the quality of the ad itself. It's about, is the ad aligned to the audience there? Then we're working our way through this list. Number 7, you might have too much audience overlap. You can actually check this in ad set level. In Ads Manager, you can see if there's some overlap there. There's not any set level on this. Sometimes I've seen it's like you should stick under 20%, sometimes 30%. I think it really depends on the total audience size. So if you've got very small custom audiences, then overlap's going to be a problem. If you've got lookalike audiences with 10 million in each lookalike, it's not going to be a big issue. But yes, you can go and analyze your overlap rate there between your audiences. So yes, you can either do this at the ad set level in a campaign. There's an inspect tool, or you can pick 2 audiences in the audiences section of Business Manager, and you tick on both, go to the overlap option in the menu. They'll tell you here what your overlap rate is there, so you know whether it's okay to use those in your campaigns or not. Facebook can do something which is called deduping, which stands for deduplication. So what we'll try to do is reduce that internal competition to keep your ad cost down. And it can sometimes say, right, you've got 2 audiences, very similar, very high overlap. To protect yourself, we're going to just shut one of the ad sets down. So that's a very good reason why your ads might not be running there. Then another reason here is your ads could get stuck in review. This is where you need to give your ads some time. We get very excited as advertisers. We create our ads and we kind of get used to ads being reviewed in about 5 minutes when they get automatically reviewed by the bot. It's very, very fast these days. But sometimes ads can go into manual review. That can take 24 hours. For busy times of the year like Black Friday, I can see 48 hours, sometimes even 72 hours. So your campaign might not be spending just because the ads are getting stuck in review. To give your campaign some time, schedule your campaigns well in advance if possible. I mean, in theory, you can schedule them up to several months in advance. That'd be a bit crazy, but try and book them in 2 or 3 days, especially if it's a big campaign like Black Friday. And then also be careful with making edits to your ads. If you edit the ad creative, that sends it back into review. That's then going to slow things down there. We're getting through this checklist. A couple more points though for you before we finish. Is your ad might not be serving because it's low quality. Now this is slightly different to the ad policies. Ad policies are where Facebook will reject your ad or approve your ad. But low quality, this is where your ads, it's kind of like a halfway house basically, that your ads run, but Facebook gives you like a yellow warning saying, we don't really like this ad, we're going to restrict the distribution, or we're going to charge you more for this. I sometimes get this when I'm running competition ads and it's like, hey, Facebook goes, we don't like you asking for likes and shares. We're going to let you run the ad, but we're not going to serve it to anybody. So this is this little sort of halfway house where you have to go and check on this. Facebook's given some examples here. They have this kind of mock-up business called Jasper's Market. And clickbait, engagement bait, things like that, it really doesn't like. So example in the middle there with carrots. It's like, you put this thing out here, 7 mind-blowing uses of carrots. And rather than giving like the 7 tips and bullet points on the ad, which would be really easy to do, you're generating that clickbait by making people click through. And then they go to the landing page and it's a very, very short article with just 7 bullet points. And then they go back to Facebook and are cursing your ads. So just, respect the user there, try and keep the quality as high as possible. Don't be clickbaity, don't be spammy, and certainly go and check if your ads aren't running for that low quality issue at ads level, and you can see if there's any problems there to fix. And then we're getting near the end of the list now. Reason number 10 why your ads might not be serving properly is maybe it falls into a special ad category. So it's political or social ad. The ad technically isn't being rejected, but Facebook is saying to you, this ad needs a disclaimer to run there. So you need to be verified to go and run in these special ad categories. It's a 2-step process. You need to verify your identity. What Facebook does is it sends you a code through the post so it can verify your address, and then it asks you to upload your passport or similar ID like photo driving license so it can prove that you are that person. You then need to log in with 2-factor authentication so nobody else can use your account. Then you also go and need to verify the page that the ads are running from. And for example, you need to give them an address and phone number, and then Facebook phones you up with a code. And then you put in that code, and then once you've verified the page and your identifier and your personal identity, happy days, you can run ads in the political and social section. There's a little checkbox on the ads that you check if it's a political or social ads, and then that will run. It just runs with a little disclaimer. The ads are also archived in Facebook's ads gallery for 7 years, I think it is, and some basic information about the audience and spend and the placements that you use is archived with the ad for anybody to see in the library there. So hope you found those 10 tips useful. So generally, if I just drill through that list, I can solve a vast majority of reasons why ads aren't running there. And we're going to go to the final section now. Maybe your ads are running, but you're just getting very flat performance. Your metrics are poor. Crucially, you're not getting many leads or many sales. These campaigns just aren't achieving whatever your goals, whatever your KPIs are. Now, at AdEspresso, we do campaign reviews. These are 10-minute tactical reviews where we look at that campaign, pull it apart, record a 10-minute video with the key action points and send it back to the client there. So I've done several thousand of these. My team have done even more thousands of these. So we've really got a good idea of what to look for when your campaign just isn't pulling in the results that you should there. A little caveat, if you like, a little disclaimer, what I'm going to be covering here is campaign level, so tactical level, not your overall strategy. If you need to find out why your overall strategy isn't working and how to build that high-performing sales funnel, you can actually go to webinars. So they've got the slightly wrong graphic here. You want to be looking at the one from February on the sales funnel there. Apologies for that. But yes, the one from February on how to build a Facebook sales funnel, that will tell you how to build that funnel. Today, we're just going to look at ad level. So how I do this, how I analyze that campaign, put it apart and get it back onto track. The first is you need to know your benchmarks. You can't say, oh, my cost per click is really poor if you don't know what your average cost per click is, or same for your CPM, like your cost per 1,000 impressions. Sounds simple, catches so many advertisers out. They go, why isn't my campaign performing? And we're going, well, what results are you expecting? And they say, well, I don't know. So you need to go through your historical data. This is going to be unique for every advertiser, so you pull some reports on this. This is where AdEspresso is really powerful. We have a tool called Report Generator, and it creates really nice graphical PDF reports for you. For example, I could just see here, this is a couple of clicks, extremely quick to build. I can look at a graph of my CPM by month. So I can say, right, why is my distribution cost, why is my cost per 1,000 impressions so high? Maybe it's because I found that my CPM is really high and the holiday season. I can pull some graphs and I can prove that there. So I know whether it's expected behavior or whether there's something wrong with my ads. You can do all types of analysis here. So by age groups, maybe I find, for example, is my cost per click really high for that 35 to 44 group. Then when I analyze my campaign, I see that Facebook served all the ads to that group. And that's why my cost per click is so high, because it's not serving any ads to, say, the 55 to 64 group, which are really cheap to reach. There's other things as well. You can do nice pie charts, whatever works well for you. You can just do standard tables, pull those figures. But I find it's usually easier to interpret some graphical analysis. So for example, we see in this chart here that for these campaigns, normally about 94% of the campaigns are served on Facebook. So if I was then to put a report and I've seen that Facebook served 99% of my campaigns to Audience Network instead, then maybe I know I've got a problem. Maybe instead of good quality newsfeed placements, I'm getting loads and loads of cheap but very low quality clicks on Audience Network. So the only way you can tell that is if you pull your benchmarks. And the best way to pull the benchmarks is to go and produce some PDF reports in AdEspresso there. So definitely recommend that you try it all. I'm going to give you a free trial at the end of the webinar, by the way. Something nice with the reports this way is you can automate them. So it's just like writing an email. Once you've built them, you just decide who to send it to. You can put in the frequency, either daily, weekly, or monthly. And then, for example, maybe I want to report on my inbox at 8 a.m. Pacific time every Monday. I can set that up there with a PDF report generator. So know your benchmarks before you go any further. Second tip there is check for setup errors. You can do this in the summary tab in AdEspresso in the campaign dashboard, or you can also within Ads Manager, if you happen to use that, there's a review option. I think you can use review at campaign level, can definitely at ad set level, and definitely at ad level as well. The reason for using the review option is it kind of like, rather than having all the different buttons and checkboxes which crowd everything, it's a bit cleaner, a bit more polished. You can just see the key points there. I'll give you an example. The other day I was setting up a campaign. I was running it to a lookalike of people in Australia, but I put the audience geolocation as United States. So there is 0 people in the audience because this lookalike isn't in the US. So even advanced advertisers and experienced advertisers can get caught out. There's so many options in Ads Manager there. So it's always worth checking this. Another thing that you might find is maybe your performance is poor, but the ad is serving, but maybe you turned on the audience expansion box, or maybe you haven't dialed in your age and gender targeting, or you've selected the wrong placements. I've done this before. I've run Instagram stories ads, but send them to Instagram newsfeed, things like that. So go and check everything there. Then third tip, we kind of then just go and work our way through all the main metrics here. It's just a very simple, methodical process once you've got those benchmarks and you've done a sanity check for any errors. So starting right at the top is we look at the ad, check for any comments. This is an ad I saw running the other day for some cell phones. You know, the comments there were just full of this, like, worst internet provider, I got this cheaper deal elsewhere. Any offering a 1 gigabyte plan isn't any good these days. Somebody's giving a referral link to a competitor. Somebody's saying, I don't know why I pay money to this company. And there are hundreds of comments like this. People that look at your ad, even though you might have the best ad creative and super duper copywriting on the ad there, nobody's going to click on it if they see these comments. And sometimes only one comment can derail your ad. If Facebook decides to prioritize it and put it as a kind of a comment, like a pinned comment in a way at the top there, sitting just underneath your ad, people can look at that and then not click on your ad. So it's not about ad quality, it's about looking at the comments there. It can derail a lot of advertisers, so check there. Next tip I do is I look at my frequency. This is some analysis we did on several hundred campaigns running through AdEspresso. Very simple graph. You can see that as your frequency increases, then your cost per click goes up considerably and your click-through rate drops considerably. So people just get banner blind. Rough kind of guide there. If people have seen your ad 3 times, they'd either have taken action and clicked on it, or they're probably not interested. Remember, this only applies if your ad is underperforming. So sometimes I've had ads with a frequency of 10, they're still working well. I'm not going to turn it off just because the frequency is high, but if you find your ad isn't working and frequency is high, that's probably the reason why. And something we get mentioned in our coaching sessions so often is, hey, my ad's been running really, really well for like a year now. I don't understand why performance has dropped. It's like, duh, it's dropped because it's been running for so long. You've saturated your audience there. You need to try different audiences, freshen up your ad copy, come up with a new offer there. Then moving on to this checklist. I think we covered this earlier. You can check your relevance scores. Maybe your campaign, if your campaign's underperforming, just look where it is. Is it at the quality level? Just don't people like your ad? Are they not engaging with it, or are they engaging but they're not converting? Facebook have actually produced this insanely complex table with every single possible combination there. So you can actually get some specific advice. I generally don't get quite so wrapped up in the analytics here, but I just look for anything obvious, like, hey, if Facebook's saying this ad is in the bottom 10% of engagement, then I know I've got a problem. Maybe I need to try a different graphic or a different offer or something there. Then moving swiftly on, tip 6, check your landing pages on mobile. A surprising stat for some people is that 95% of Facebook ad impressions are served on mobile. So maybe you've got your big dual screen set up there. We've checked all your landing pages and your graphics, everything looks really good, but your audience is actually being served the ads on a very small cell phone. Maybe you click on the landing page and the button's just not accessible very well. Maybe it just doesn't render properly on those small screens. I've had it sometimes where you get banners pop up and cover the submit button, so people can't physically fill in their details there, all that sort of things. Is your form too complex for mobile? It's not very easy to type on mobile devices. So test and analyze on mobile. That catches a lot of people out there. There are lots of tools on this. Google rather, I've got some mobile speed tools that you can analyze landing pages, but just do a check on any devices that you've got there. Another tip, very simple, but check that your pixel's working. Of the campaigns that I've done, I've probably done several hundred where people are saying, hey, I'm not getting any leads, and we check it and they're getting plenty of leads, but their pixel just isn't firing properly. You can use Facebook Pixel Helper. This is a free add-on for Google Chrome. You can get that there in the extension store. You can also go into Events Manager and Business Manager. Again, you kind of go to those 9 dots and then find the menu entry for Events Manager, check that your pixel's firing. You can go into each individual event as well and see if things like add to cart, initiate checkout, purchase, or lead are firing. And then under the test events tab, you can run some tests at the browser end as well. So you put in the URL, navigate to the website, and then just go and click on various things, and Facebook will tell you what pixel events are firing. So you can use the kind of one end is by using Pixel Helper and surf the website, and then the other end is going into Events Manager and testing the website there. The two together, you should be able to tell if your pixels are firing properly. And then from there, if we've done all those tips, it's really a case of just plugging through all of your metrics. For example, this is for e-commerce. It's what you can see on there is your distribution cost, your cost per 1,000 impressions. This is just your raw distribution. You know, is it just too expensive to physically get my ads in front of people? If I'm getting distribution, are they clicking on the ad? What's my click-through rate? What's my cost per click? Then what's my cost per product viewed? What's my cost per add to cart, my initiate checkout, purchase? And then what's my conversion rates from clicks to people converting on the website? Obviously, there's different funnels for lead generation or different objectives. This is just an example. It depends how you set up your pixels. Or maybe you're doing things on Facebook. Maybe you've got on Facebook lead generation forms. You're getting so much rich data from your Facebook ads, and it's a case of just following it along. This is why we put our reports to start with, and then I can look at my historical data compared to what it gets for this campaign. Let me give you a quick example. This is for a brand that's running ads to Canadians, but they are a US-based brand, and they've got very high shipping charges when they're sending products to Canada. So what we found in this user flow here from the ads, cost per 1,000 impressions, super low to Canada, low to clicks on the ads, people reviewing the products, they loved the products, they added them to cart, and then we had a really high cost per initiate checkout, because once they added them to the cart, they saw the shipping charge. And then the cost per purchase was terrible. We just weren't getting any purchases because they went through to checkout just to check if that shipping really did apply. And they're like, yes, it does. I'm going to exit and not purchase. So this is just an example. It's your straightforward funnel analytics. Just see where the blockage is and try and sort it there. Another example, this was a campaign I was running, and we can see here, the cost per click was eye-watering. It was $47. Now, for this campaign to succeed based on historical data, we needed $1 to $3. So really, really high there. So you just know there's something wrong. Like we need to go and change our audience or optimization, or just go and copy it and start again. But I'm never going to be able to get a cost per conversion of, say, $20 if I'm paying $47 per click. It's physically impossible. So just try and find out where that blockage is in your metrics there. Then tips that we can do to resolve this. One thing that we can be doing is, if we look through those metrics and we haven't found anything, maybe your CPM, your CPC, your CTR is all looking good, your engagement is good, there's no bad comments on the ads, then sometimes you just need to copy the campaign. This is kind of one of the last things I do, but sometimes for whatever reason, the campaign's just not working properly. Just copy it, reboot it, just kind of kickstart it there. Another thing that we can be doing is we can be changing the optimization. So like where we saw that campaign with a $47 cost per click, I was optimizing for conversions. I think what happened was Facebook was struggling because I was optimizing for conversions, but it didn't have any conversions yet. It just got a bit confused. So then I changed the optimization to link clicks. Straight away, the cost per click dropped from $47 to $1, and then I can get some traffic through to the website and try and get things back on track. And then another little tip here, we're nearly at the end, just a couple more tips to go. Give your campaign a bit more time. With lead generation, aim to run for at least 4 days. You do get day-to-day random variation depending on weekends, public holidays, and so on. With e-commerce, you can get what's called delayed attribution. There can be a delay from when people click on the ad to buying. Maybe they wait for the weekend, maybe they wait for payday, things like that. Try and give the ads about 7 days. So sometimes people are saying, hey, my metrics are really bad. And it's because they're looking at the ads after 12 hours and they haven't given Facebook time to go and attribute all of those purchases there. A big caveat though, depending when you're watching this webinar, if you're watching the replay, chances are iOS 14 privacy changes would have rolled out, and that's going to bring in a 3-day reporting delay with the pixel. So if somebody clicked on the ad and converted straight away, that data will then be passed back 3 days later. That's our understanding at the moment. That might change, but chances are you're going to have to run the ads for a lot longer after the iOS 14 privacy changes. And then final tip here is if things just aren't working with your ads, go back to basics. Think about using a single square image ad with headline underneath, ad text above. Maybe your ads weren't working because you're trying something fancy like a collection ad, stories ad, dynamic product ads. Just take it back to the kind of lowest common denominator, if you like, there. With your ad copy, again, just strip it back to basics. Classic copywriting, one feature, one benefit, one call to action, and a sense of urgency. And just use your best placements. Maybe Facebook was showing too many of your ads to audience network or kind of in-stream video views, that sort of thing. So just go back to the tried and true Facebook and Instagram newsfeed placements there. And then final point here, I know we've covered a lot today, but final point, sort of take-home message for you, something to think about. Is a lot of times Facebook ads have what I call the snowball effect. What I mean by this is that they can be all or nothing. If you get a very cheap CPM to start with your ads, you get loads of impressions. Law of averages means that you then get a cheap cost per click. If you get loads of clicks, you're going to get loads of conversions. That then seeds the learning phase for Facebook, so it knows who to show the ads to, which then means it gets a lower CPM, CPC, and a lower cost per conversion. Then you get even more conversions and so on. And so you'll find that your campaigns just get better and better and better. Conversely, sometimes you start off, your campaigns just don't get many clicks. Because you don't get many clicks, you don't get many conversions. Facebook then can't learn, it can't optimize, and then your ads are shown to the wrong people, and then your CPC goes up again, so you get even less conversions, and the campaign falls flat. So when I audit campaigns, I quite often see that things either don't work or they work spectacularly well. I say this to motivate you that sometimes you're starting off on Facebook ads, not getting very many results, but stick at it. You'll find that once you align everything, you work on getting the best funnel in place, the best ads, the best audience. When it comes together, suddenly your ads skyrocket and you get loads of leads, loads of purchases, loads of engagement, whatever your objective is there. So yeah, keep tweaking, do that analysis, know your benchmarks, and you can get your campaigns on track there. So thank you for joining me today. And as a little reward, I'd like to give you a free 14-day trial of AdEspresso and 30% discount. This is exclusive for our webinar viewers. Just go to adespresso.com/a-webinar there. We'll try and put that in the chat box. I think Tori will put that in chat in a second as well. But then if you want us to analyze any of your campaigns or work on strategy for you, we do those 10-minute tactical reviews, and we also do one-to-one strategy sessions. These are exclusive for AdEspresso customers, but you can book them if you take out the 14-day free trial as well. So they're booked within the services tab in AdEspresso, and I'd love to be able to pull apart some of your campaigns and tell you what's going wrong and how to get them back on track there. And then finally, next month, we're going to switch gears. Instead of doing Facebook ads, we're going to be looking at Google ads. And I'm delighted to announce that we're going to be inviting Sebastian, who's actually part of the official Google team, to be giving this presentation. And we're going to be looking at some of the best Google ads tools and settings for your business. Completely free as always. Just go to adespresso.com/webinars. So thank you very much for joining me today. We're going to look at some questions. I know we've gone quite long on time here, but we'll just go and select a few questions before we finish up today. Tori, have you got any questions for us?
Awesome. Yeah, we have a ton of questions today. First and foremost, our most popular one, yes, we will be sending a recording of this webinar. You're going to get that via email. If you don't, for some reason, spam filters, etc., you can go to youtube.com/AdEspresso, and that'll be up within the next couple hours there. All right, so interesting question here from Edinson. Can some failed payments affect our advertising costs or get our account banned?
I'm not aware. I mean, if you've got a failed payment, if they then stop your ads running, then they might go and reset the learning phase, certainly if it's for a few days. So try and keep your account in good standing if at all possible. But yeah, otherwise, I don't think it should affect your account quality overall.
Kind of a segue into the next question. How do I shorten the learning phase? Is there anything else that I can do to reduce that amount of time?
So it's really looking for 50 conversions per ad set per week. So one way is to increase the budget. If you know what your cost per lead or cost per conversion is, then you'll get an idea of what budgets to use. So you'll find that if you've been running ads for a while, you can get more confident with starting budgets. That will give you a much higher chance of success. Certainly at first when you're running ads, I'd be conservative. But yes, this is going back to the snowball effect. If you've been running ads for a while and are more confident, you start with a higher budget, you get more results, finish learning faster, you then get even better results. So that can help. Also, just think about your funnel. Like I showed with the example, if AdEspresso was going straight for trials, we won't get enough trials from cold traffic because they don't know what we do, and you won't complete learning. So what we do instead is offer, just like this, join us for a free webinar or download a free ebook, and then we get later leads and we can optimize the campaigns for leads pretty cheaply there. So hopefully that can help.
Do you recommend using Facebook's campaign budget optimization? Is our next question from Allison.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We've actually got a webinar on this, so you can go onto adespresso.com/webinars and you'll see a webinar there on CBO or campaign budget optimization. But I would say most of the time I do use it, but keep an eye on the results. So this is again, like you can use some of these settings, but if something goes wrong, you need to know what to analyze. So for example, maybe you had a campaign with several ad sets and using campaign budget optimization, and you're seeing some of the ad sets just aren't getting many results. What might be happening is that CBO has gone a bit crazy and given like 95% of the budget to one ad set, and the others just aren't getting a look in, so they're not optimizing, they're not completing learning phase. So then you would say, right, I need to either switch CBO off, or I can put min and max thresholds on each ad set, so I guarantee they get a minimum or a maximum spend there. So yeah, you can use CBO, but if you're finding something's not working there, then definitely know how to check your spends and know how to go and correct it there. But we've got a full webinar on that to help you.
There's pretty much a webinar on anything I think we have on AdEspresso right now. Next question from Vanessa. What should we do about negative ad comments?
Oh, now there are several things they can do. So if I'm running an ad and it's got bad comments, the first thing that I'll do is thinking, okay, is this constructive criticism or not? Sometimes you can turn it around. Like I've seen questions where people pick up anything now, and I do understand where they're coming from, but they might say, hey, is there any plastic in the packaging? Now, if you've got like plastic-free packaging, then you could turn that to your advantage and go, hey, thanks for your comment. It is plastic free, or like, you know, are you shipping locally? Yes, I'm shipping locally, and things like that. So something constructive, that can be a really good thing to show that you are a responsive brand, you're listening to your audience, and you can solve those pain points. But sometimes on ads, people just don't like ads in their news feed. I do understand where they're coming from, but they'll just, you know, kind of whinge for no reason. What I would then generally do is I can hide that comment. So if you hide a comment, that means the comment's still there, but no one will see it unless they're a friend of the person that posted it. The reason I sometimes use hide is because then the person that posted it still sees it. So if you actually just use the final option, the nuclear option of delete, then that can cause problems sometimes because the original poster goes, hey, you've deleted my ads, why are you trying to censor me? And then you've got more comments to go and delete, and then you have to go and ban the user. So a good halfway house is the hide option. But yes, if it's really bad, then you kind of delete, ban, and move on. There's no point in paying to distribute negative comments. What is the point in that? So monitor your ads closely. You can use a social media monitoring tool, you know, shout out to our parent company Hootsuite if you've got a good monitoring tool and you've got a good ads platform like AdEspresso. The two work really well in combination. And of course, take a step back. Maybe you've just got the wrong offer. Maybe it's not relevant to your audience or bad product. Sometimes you do need to take that on board and go and refine the product or the offering sort of thing there. So it can be useful user research. But yes, you can either answer the comment, you can hide the comment as a good compromise, or you can delete, ban, and move on if you really have to there. So hopefully that gives you some options.
Great. Next one. So for that minimum of 50 conversion events to get out of the learning phase, are these events shared across ad sets or per campaign?
It's at ad set level. So that's where the optimization happens. So yes, just be careful that you don't have too many ad sets within the same campaign there. You've got to think sometimes, like if you had a product that's selling for say it sells for $10 CPA, then just for that ad set, you're going to be needing $500 to complete learning within the first week there. So it can be quite high budgets, especially if you start going up to products at $20 CPA, $40 CPA is quite common for some e-commerce businesses. They need very, very large budgets. So don't run two things. There is one little thing I will just say there. Remember that the learning phase is the kind of cherry on top. It's not the be all and end all. So you don't have to adhere to it strictly necessarily. But if your campaigns aren't working, that might be one thing to check. And also best practice, if you can reach the learning phase, go brilliant. But yeah, there are times when it's just not practical to run those budgets. I will still run the campaigns. But if I can get 10 or 20 conversions within a week, that's much better than getting 1 or 2, which really won't help Facebook there.
Okay. Should I be defining a frequency cap? And if so, what should it be?
You can put some frequency caps in there, but it really depends on your stage of the funnel. Like top of the funnel, we generally recommend around about 3. For lower funnel, it can be a lot higher. Generally, don't use frequency caps there. It's more about time windows to make sure people aren't seeing the ads for too long. And again, like you said, Tori, you've got a webinar and everything. We've got ads on how to set up your retargeting sequences. What I try to do though is it's kind of like a debugging metric, if you like. So if my frequency is high and the ads are producing good results, don't shut them off just because the frequency is high. It's more that you flip it around the other way. If the campaign's faltering and you're thinking, right, what do I check? Then one of the first things I do is check my frequency. Audience saturation and banner blindness is common. So be really careful about setting a rule there. Yeah, if I'm setting a rule, I'm going to be really liberal. Like maybe I'm aiming to keep frequency under 3. So maybe I set my rule at 5. So I give that a little extra leeway. Just if I'm on vacation or it's a weekend, I don't want to be checking my campaigns too often there.
Okay, perfect. And then one last one here from Jens. Where do you find benchmarked numbers for CPM, click-through rate, et cetera, in your target market?
Yeah, so this is a question we get asked a lot, and I really think that it's not that useful comparing different advertisers because it really depends on the audiences and objectives. For example, imagine I have the same ad, same audience, same ad account, but one ad I run for and optimize for impressions, and I run the same ad audience and so on, but I optimize for conversions. The ad optimized for impressions, I might get a CPM of $1. Whereas if I optimize for conversions, maybe I see a CPM of $50. So a 50 times difference. Everything the same apart from the optimization. That's just an example. Don't quote me on those figures, but you can see that if we get some benchmarks somewhere and they'll say, okay, these are the average. You could be beating yourself up. You could be thinking, well, why is my CPM, $10 when this guy says $1? And it could just be something as simple as optimization. You can only look at benchmarks if you're comparing apples to apples. And the only really way to do that is get that historical data. I appreciate that's difficult at first. You kind of need to put some test budget into your campaigns, run some tests and then see what's working and then pull those reports there. Or you could sometimes getting a strategy call from an expert that's run lots of campaigns can be very useful. Also, we do like to give you some figures. I'm not trying to dodge the question completely. We've got some guides at AdEspresso. If you go into the Academy section, I think it is on AdEspresso, there's some guides on ad costs. We've got some like benchmarks there. They can download some ebooks. I think that's the case, isn't it, Tori?
That's correct.
Yeah. So we've got some benchmarks there, which can give you a ballpark figure, but as soon as possible, try and establish your own benchmarks. That's the only way there. So thank you everybody for sticking with us to the end of this webinar. I know we've covered a lot today, but we'll get the replay to you as soon as possible. And I'd like to wish you all good luck with your ad campaigns, and I hope you find those tips useful there.